Happy Monday, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Johnny Vlogs. I'm your host, John Lorden. Thank you so much for spending a little time with me today. Today, I want to talk about a certain type of case that many of you suggest. And quite honestly, I haven't found a good way to work into the channel or way to cover it. So maybe you guys can help me with that. Before we get into the topic, though, of course, I want to thank our new Patreon supporters. Samantha is now pledged. Katie also now pledged. Thank you both. On top of the new pledges, we have several that have increased their donation. April Lindlom, hello April, thank you. Brandon Yoder also increased his pledge. Thank you, Brandon. And Martin Fitzgibbon. Thank each and every one of you. It really means a lot to me that I have your support and that we're able to do all the great things that we can do on this channel with that. So the type of case that I'm talking about is an unidentified body. And I know that sometimes it'll hit the news and you'll see kind of a run of articles about it. We have covered a couple of cases on Brain Scratch where there has been a body that's been found and we don't know who the identity is. But those have been kind of the extreme cases where there's a very big mystery and there are pieces of the puzzle that we can kind of go over so that we can get to some type of adequate theory. A lot of unidentified bodies, there's just not a ton of information out there outside of the basics of what type of person, approximate height, approximate weight, location, and really that's about it. So it's tough because I will occasionally get suggestions from you guys in terms of these cases. I know Christy Groves also works on these cases quite a bit and is frequently telling me about some of them. But it's really tough for me to figure out how to cover it because I think the video would be like 30 or 45 seconds long. I'm not sure if you guys would really want to see that type of content on the channel. Something that I always work really hard to do when I'm talking about cases is to try to bring the humanity out, the person's character, what type of person they were, what type of interests they had, and all that kind of stuff. And with these cases, you don't have any of that. You literally have the end of this person's story and sometimes not a whole lot leading up to even how they got in that position. So I kind of struggle with it. But that being said, there's one case that hit the news. Once again, I'm telling you, there's not a ton of detail to cover, but it moved me and I wanted to find some way to work it in. So I want to talk to you guys about it here today. And that is the case of little Jacob. And here you can see an artist rendering of little Jacob. Let's just go through the details on this. Let's see how this works. You guys tell me in the comment box below if you can figure out some way where maybe I can do these regularly. Maybe you wouldn't mind just a little, 60-second, maybe 90-second video on stuff like this. I really don't know. Over at crimefeed.com, who killed little Jacob? Police release sketch and photo of boy's dead body on the beach. Now, if you've watched the channel, I don't always agree with them releasing post-mortem photos. Here, because the sketch is actually really well done, once again, I'm going to opt with not showing the post-mortem photo. If you want to see it, you can search for little Jacob on Google and hit images, and you will certainly see it. But this photo does a very good job of showing what he looks like. Galveston, Texas. Investigators have revealed new details in the mysterious death of little Jacob. Investigators with the FBI and Galveston Police Department announced at a press conference that they believe that the boy was approximately 3 to 5 years old and died around October 17th or October 18th of 2017. Jacob's body was found by a passerby along the water on October 20th. So we're now coming up to getting close to about 6 months since this occurrence of him dying and being found happened. And I'm really not seeing any major updates on this case. So that's kind of part of the reason why I wanted to cover this with you here today. On top of the several suggestions, and let me just say, brain scratchers have been very motivated by this case. Also, I've heard from many of you that wanted me to give some exposure to this. Since then, multiple law enforcement agencies have investigated the case. They've released sketches of the child on billboards across the region from Kentucky to Texas to Louisiana and offered a reward of up to $10,000 for information about his death. Autopsy results are inconclusive. However, authorities have stated that the boy's body showed signs of neglect and injuries consistent with abuse. Investigators have also said that they believe that his family may have made excuses about his whereabouts around the time he was killed. And that's what's really important to get out there if you're talking to other people about this case, if you're letting them know about little Jacob. The tip that we're looking for, the piece of information, is probably going to come, I don't think it's going to come directly from the family themselves, probably going to come from someone that they interact with. And I think that's why this article is doing a really good job of pointing that out. They likely made some excuses. There was probably some people that were used to seeing little Jacob somewhere, and they're wondering, hey, what happened to him? Maybe even asking the parents, hey, where's your little boy? And then all of a sudden the excuses will start. Oh, he's sick. Oh, he moved to live with his grandmother, or moved to live in another state for some reason, something along those lines. So when you're sharing this story with people, please just remember that little tidbit. Compiled with the picture, I think that is a very important piece in terms of cracking this case, because someone out there is going to look at this picture and say, hey, that reminds me of this kid. And yeah, I did hear kind of a weak story about why he disappeared. After investigating hundreds of fruitless leads and tips in an attempt to identify Jacob, authorities decided to release the actual photograph of his dead body. We've already spoke about that. I guess I can say I understand why they do it. Of course, it's a more accurate reflection of what he looks like. It's something that I still struggle with. I wish that they would just create digital composites based off that, turn it over to a digital artist, let them build a composite sketch of what he looked like when he was alive using those details. And that way you'll get the accuracy. Plus it'll probably be even a little more useful as opposed to seeing a postmortem photo. But that's just how I feel about those photos in particular. Investigators have also considered that it's possible the boy's parents may be undocumented, and that could be why they haven't claimed the body of their son. But Galveston police spokesmen have said at this point, we're not concerned with the documented status of little Jacob, of his parents, of his family. And of course, they're still looking for tips on this case, so I will have tips in the description box below. Now, I got to tell you guys, that is a case that actually has quite a bit of coverage on it. And literally, this one article hit all the main points. You can find article after article after article, and they're basically going over this same very small bit of information. And that's what's really tough about these types of cases. I think that's part of the inspiration of why NamUs exists. They've got the side that is missing persons profiles. They've got the side that is unidentified bodies. Hopefully you get DNA samples on both of those sides, and their system can make a match and say, hey, we know who this is. It's this person over here. There are hundreds of these cases, I think annually, if I recall correctly, where you get a body and they don't know the identity of that person. They don't know how to do a proper service, give a proper burial. There's so many aspects that come up when you have an unidentified person found like this. So I get that it is a problem. I'm not quite sure how to address it yet in a helpful and meaningful way through the channel. So I'm asking you guys for some help on that. If you have some feedback on that, please let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much. I hope each and every one of you out there is having a great day. Please come back tomorrow. We're not going to have a case crack tomorrow. We have another important Brain Scratch Searchlight update. Remember, I am doing that. I'm basically kind of sacrificing case cracked because I want to make sure to get a fresh episode of Searchlight every single week this year, where we're reviewing a completely different case every single week for every week that I'm working this year. So Searchlight updates, I'm now dropping in on top of where Case Cracked would usually go. So we have another update tomorrow for Searchlight. Hope you guys will check it out. Take care, everyone. Have a great day, and I'll see you back here on the Lord and Arts channel.